You are now tuned into the sounds of Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
Sitting looking back on all the times we shared, when I acted like I just didn't really care, and it wasn't fair. You stood by me, girl, when I was so untrue. But this is my promise, girl, I give to only you. Let me be the one, you the one you come running to. When you need me, I'll be there, just to let you know that I do care. Baby, I promise, girl, I promise, I'll always be true. And baby, I promise, girl, I promise you that I'll be right here for you, no matter the problem, babe. I'll stand by your side, be right by your side. Yeah, can never be denied. I know the love in me wasn't always easy.
You are now tuned in to Big Nate Sports Talk, the show that is on all the time, anytime. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the next big thing, the latest up-and-coming sports journalist, your host, Nathan Snell.
Thank you, Mr. Anthony Handy, for that wonderful introduction. Happy Monday, ladies and gentlemen. It is your host, Nathan Snell at Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. I hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all staying safe. Hope you all had a great weekend. This is episode 9, season 16 of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. And in this episode, it's week 14 of the WNBA. And we are talking rankings. Where does these 12 teams rank as we are getting so close to playoff time? But before we get into that, there's a few things I want to say up front. I apologize if episode 7 and 8 went up late, went completely past my mind. I was like, oh, I forgot to upload these episodes. So those episodes should already be shown. We will this week break down the 53-man roster for Washington and Baltimore, respectively. Because for the football, the cuts are by tomorrow, 4 p.m. So we have an idea. I have an idea who's staying, who's not. So be tuned in for that video. College football is almost here, so we'll be ready for that. Maryland Terrapins. College basketball will be here as well. So just a lot of great content. So please consider hitting that subscribe button. Thank you for all the support you're giving me. Oh, also a couple announcements too. We will have all of season 15 uploaded ASAP. We're just getting everything situated. It's been a process. So we'll have all those episodes uploaded as soon as possible. Also, as well as the WNBA content. I know I'm a bit behind in getting the WNBA content out to y'all, so I'll have that out as soon as I can. But let's get to this episode. And I cannot do this episode alone. Excuse me. Let's bring in our guest, Mr. Brenden Potts. Brenden, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. I hope all is well, and I hope you had a good weekend. And yeah, I'm glad to be here, and always happy to talk WNBA.
Absolutely. Well, Brenden, it's week 14 of the W season.
Already?
Yes.
That's crazy.
I know. We're at the last leg of the season. Where's the time go? We get ready for playoffs. Unfortunately, some teams, they get eliminated from the playoffs. Let's just get really right into it. This is our week 14 rankings. Starting at number 12, the team that will miss the playoffs for the first time since 2012, and that is the Phoenix Mercury. Brenden, what are your thoughts on that?
That's insane, and I mean, like, they've just been a train wreck this season, and it's just been so downhill from here, or from the Nygaard hiring, you could say you could go all the way back from then, but they just need a breath of fresh air, and whether that's a new coach after the season concludes, or transition from the roster, they just need a breath of fresh air so they can just get back to their feet, because there are certainly bright spots to their team, but this team is just has been on a train wreck this season. So it's just gone downhill the whole season, which led to them being one of the first teams to be eliminated from the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of things I think that have to be fixed with Phoenix. I think 2024, excuse me, I think will be the year where you have to reset, not rebuild, but reset. Really both at the same time. The culture and different things like that. Nikki Blue, who I think should be in consideration for that coaching job, came in and did her job to stay respectable, in my opinion. Um, next year's DT's last year. We don't really know what to do with in terms of Sky Diggins Smith. We don't know what her status will be next year. She's unrestricted, so I think she's a restricted free agent, if I'm saying that correctly. So it's really a lot going on. I mean, really the bright spots. They were close to winning the game against Dallas, and Ryan Jefferson hit the what would have been the go ahead three, and
it wedged it. That was
wedged
crazy.
it. So
That's the
yeah.
story of the season, by the way, for Phoenix. That shot right there is the story of the season.
Yep, pretty much. And I mean, bright spots, I think, really for this team, I'd say Sug Sutton, Michaela Onyeweide, Megan Gustafson, Mariah Jefferson.
I put in Sophie Cunningham too. She's really been a big scorer for their team. Usually they lean on DT and Brittany Griner, but Sophie's really
stepped
into
up.
her own. Yeah, oh yeah.
Yep. So yeah, and on top of that, I think they have Atlanta tomorrow, Connecticut Thursday, and Minnesota, excuse me, on Sunday. So yeah, so it's gonna be interesting to see what they look like. This next team, Brendan, the Seattle Storm, were eliminated from playoff contention as well. I will give this fun fact. I looked at this stat up in the last 3 games. Jewel Lloyd has totaled 77 points. This is the first time she missed the playoffs since her rookie year, 2015. I just want to get your thoughts. Just take a couple minutes on what was, because walk me through, because you were at the game.
Mm-hmm.
Walk me through those 12 seconds. Can you? What was the reasoning behind that?
I mean, I was there from a fan's perspective, and we were all saying the same thing. Shoot the ball. It's a 5-point game. They could play the foul game if they made a 3. I just think the Storm as a unit lost all their confidence when that 3-pointer that Jewel took from the sideline, or from the corner, when she took that 3 from the corner and it missed. I think all the confidence from the Storm for the rest of the season just flatlined. And I think that was the signature wave to the fans, like, hey, we're gonna tank the rest of the season. I don't know if they knew that if they lost this game they would miss the playoffs. I certainly didn't know that until I was leaving the arena. I got the ESPN notification. So I think they could have known that. But I just it wasn't like them, and that's a complete opposite of the culture they've shown all season. They've shown to be competitive. They've shown to be a scrappy team that is willing to go against anybody, no matter how good or bad they are. And it was just so unlike them. And I think speaking to Jewel specifically, I just think she's tired of this losing, and I mean, I feel for her, and every Storm fan wants her to stay, but they would totally understand if she left and um if she left and went to join a contender, because she is a player that deserves to win. Like she deserves, because she shows how competitive she is on the court, and that's what we love about her. Like even on a bad team this year, she wanted to win. Like she wanted to help this team win, and she wanted to show what that feels like. Um, so it's just frustrating as a fan to be like, oh, this is essentially this is it. And to speaking back on Phoenix, two historic franchises, usually in the league, are kind of taking a back seat this year and watching other teams compete for a championship. And yeah, it's this is probably the worst part of the rebuild is losing games, but then also uh knowing officially that you're eliminated from the playoffs, because you you get we I think a week ago we have like a 2.6% chance to make the playoffs. That, like, players play off that. Like they play off those odds. They're like, we have a chance. And especially if you look at the past few games, the path is set. If the path is set and the standings are so close near the bottom, that you feel like, hey, you do have a chance. And just the way that we performed the last few games, it's just flatlined any chance that we had. And I think this game, and especially the game against Indiana, were big were big eye openers to like where our hearts lie this season.
Let me ask you two questions. My first question is: are you certain that Joel Lloyd is leaving Seattle? Because I can't see her leaving, because she would be the person you're building around. Like, did we not see this coming when Brandon Stewart was going to leave? And then my second question is Noel Quinn on the hot seat? And my answer is no.
Yeah, no. I'll answer the second question first, because I think it's a straight answer, and I agree. No. I think it's a big part of the ownership group when talking about choosing the head coach, and everybody feels comfortable with Noah Quinn. You speak about coaching changes in Seattle. I think there might be one, and I think it might be the assistant coach, and I hope it's not. I think Pokey Chapman might get a job elsewhere. I hope she stays in Seattle, but then I also hope she goes and gets a head coaching job somewhere else. There have been rumors about Chicago. There have been rumors about Phoenix, and I could see her fitting in both locations. I would love to see her in Chicago, back where she was a successful coach. Um, so that would be really cool. Personally, she's been a really big advocate for me and my coverage of the WNBA, and she's been a really good friend to me, and I really appreciate her. She's the sweetest person. Um, so I would love to see her get a job head coaching somewhere, but I would always love to see her in Seattle. Speaking about the first question, I feel like that Jewel and Brianna Stewart situations are different. I feel like Brianna Stewart kind of decided to leave when Sue Bird announced her retirement. Um, and I could be totally wrong. That's just my opinion on when she when she decided to leave. That's just what I thought happened. Um, and in my opinion, all eyes are going to be on the Storm organization and the front office up there because they need to do whatever they can to get Jewel Lloyd back in Seattle. They need to make sure the vision of the franchise, which I think still stays the same, matches up with her wants, which I think still stays the same. And they need to give her as much money as they can to secure her back, but they cannot afford to lose her. Because it'll set back Jewel Lloyd this year was the only hope that Storm fans had. Now we've shown this year that like, hey, we actually have some good pieces around this team. But I mean, Jewel Lloyd's the superstar. She's the one player that everybody in this fan base absolutely loves. So they need to do whatever they can to get her back. I feel like the question's not whether she can lead a team. I think we've all seen that she can lead a team, but I don't think it's 100% that she stays. But I am relatively nervous heading into this offseason just because of like the past offseason and how that went down. It makes me nervous for Jewel Lloyd. So, but I hope to God she stays.
I'm just looking at what their supposed salary will look like with minus all the free agents and stuff. They're going to sign her. They're not going to let her walk. That's my prediction. So
the other side of it is she's such a competitive player and she deserves to win. And it's the other side of it too is if she does leave, where's she going to go? And my number one destination for her is Chicago. Go back home, do exactly what Breanna Stewart did. Go back home, playing. She loves playing against Chicago. She always does well against the Sky. Yeah, so that would be my only destination for her to get a relative contender going in Chicago. But I mean, that's just we're talking about them next. That's just a train wreck in its own.
For sure. I agree. Let's transition into the number 10 team, Chicago. I mean, they're still in the playoff race, but respectfully, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. They've had a 5-game losing streak. They beat you guys twice. They lost to Vegas. They're 2-1 against Los Angeles. They play them tomorrow, ironically, the New York Sunday. I just don't see it with them. I don't think they'll make it. I feel like there's a lot going on there that has to be fixed. And that's just my take with Chicago.
Yeah, I have the same. They shouldn't have won that game yesterday. Seattle totally gave it to them, and Seattle lost that game more than Chicago won that game.
I agree.
I think Seattle also outworked them. Like they played hard in the first half, and they seemed like they wanted it more, but then they just fell flat in the second half.
Yep.
So that was the big eye opener for me. One player I liked, Dana Evans, until she got hurt. She played great.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a question. Did you watch that game?
Yes, I did. I watched it on League.
Okay. When did she get hurt? Because she was out with a concussion. I was like, when did she get a concussion?
I can't remember. I want to say it was somewhere like in the mid-second quarter.
Okay, because I totally missed it. I saw the injury report and I was like, when did she get a concussion?
I can't remember. I know it happened somewhere around the second quarter. I can't remember off the top of my head. I got to look back at it. But I know what you're talking about. I don't know what happened.
Another player I liked from that game, man, Marina Mabry's a sniper.
Yeah, she is. But that
He is
experiment,
a sniper.
but I think the experiment trading her from Dallas it just was not fluent. It wasn't consistent. Because I still try to figure out I wanted to know what the vision, what that was. It's not her. It's just you sign Courtney, you have Kalia and her.
Oh shoot! I totally forgot about Courtney Williams. She played the hardest out of that whole team. She played like she was guns blazing the entire game, and that block that she had in that game, she got all of my respect, and then Ezzy McMcCord earned it right back after she got that block. So no, I've been a big fan of Courtney for a year and a half. I just love how she plays, and I really wanted her to win while she was in Connecticut, but I just love how Courtney plays, and she played extremely hard yesterday. So
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm a fan of Courtney as well. I wish she'd have stayed in Connecticut. That would have made it work. But she's balling in Chicago. She's doing her thing. She's not going to cheat you out of effort. She's going to play the game the right way every single night.
yeah, that 10 points doesn't do it justice.
Yeah, that's true. That's a very good point. Let's go to the next team, Indiana. They've won 3 in a row. The last time that happened was 2 years ago, July 2021.
They've won 3 in a row. Wow.
Yes. They were this last week. They were 2-0 before they beat you guys, and then the fourth quarter cheat switch was turned on in Atlanta. Christy Wallace, she hit 6 threes. Yes, against Atlanta. And we're going to talk about Atlanta in a little bit. But yeah, man, they are still in the playoffs. I mean, I feel like as fortunately that will come to an end, but for now, they are still in the playoffs. Aaliyah Boston did suffer a thumb injury, but they have Dallas Friday and then Dallas again Sunday. So,
yeah,
yes.
Dallas will. If Dallas doesn't take them out, I don't know what Chicago is gonna do, because that's who they play next. But I mean, they're a game in front of the Storm, who just got eliminated from the playoffs. So you look at that, and I was talking to a friend earlier today, and I said Indiana's hanging by a thread, and they're just waiting for. Or I guess their opponents are just waiting for them so they can just cut the string off and send them packing, because they're hanging by a thread. They're most likely not going to make the playoffs. Now that'll be an amazing comeback story if they just win out the rest of the season, make the playoffs, especially without Aaliyah, if that's the case.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're in a rebuild as well. The last 3 teams in these power rankings are in a rebuild or a retool or whatever. So that's kind of how you got to treat this.
Yeah, for sure.
Portion of the list. They'll all be in the lottery. It's just a matter of where they'll be in the draft order. So, but Indiana, I've said it for a couple of years. Indiana's got a bright future as well. They've got a lot of good talent around Aaliyah Boston. They've got the star that they need in Aaliyah. So hopefully they can keep rebuilding around her, because that's the goal for them. But they have a bright future for sure.
Yep, I definitely agree with that. Number 8, I put the Atlanta Dream here. They've just been not a good team this month. Believe they're now 2-8, and they lost all 3 games last week. Ryan Howard, I know, has been dealt with a nose and face injury. She was back. But this lineup, this is it's not here. It's not. We're not together. And let's just talk about it. And the loss to Indy, Coach Wright definitely made some post game comments. I understand you're at home and I'm sorry, they blew a 16-point lead to Los Angeles, excuse me. And in there, she said this team needs to grow up. And I'm not sure if you saw my tweet, but I quoted it and I said, what defines that? Because when I look at this team, you have vets like Danielle Robinson, Cheyenne Parker, Monique Billings, and then the rest are relatively still young players. Haley Jones, Naz Hillman, Alicia Gray, I consider a vet. This team, this roster, the way this roster is constructed is weird. So I feel like she put all the blame on the players and not taking any accountability. Now, I believe she did say they kind of walked back on it and took some accountability, but I feel like those are things you don't say in a presser. You could have said it would have been nice if you'd have said, I need to be better with managing down the stretch. That makes a difference because when you say this team needs to grow up, you go back to a locker room and think players are going to look at you the same. Because now players are going to be like, well, who is she talking to? She's talking about me. She's talking about you. Yeah. And honestly and truthfully, and I'm not trying to throw any shade on them. I don't have them making the playoffs because the way that they're looking right now, they're just they need to get it together and soon.
Yeah, I agree. I think when you say they need to grow up, they need to understand what's at stake right now. They have a chance to make the postseason. They have a chance to keep their season alive. You got to think Tanisha is coming from a Dallas team that she led to the playoffs in her first year, and she's in a similar situation, but I mean, they finished near the bottom of the standings the last time, and she's in a similar situation in that aspect right now. But it is a younger team that she is urging to grow into a veteran group, and that is hard for a team to do. But I mean, coaches ask professional players to do a lot of hard things, and they just have to do it. And you need veteran players to kind of help out and assist with that. And you look at this roster, they don't really like have those players like other teams do. So that could be the whole reason why she said that in her presser. But yeah, that's something you say more in a locker room than in a presser. So it that just strikes me as confused after hearing that. So
Yeah. So I mean, I know she did kind of clear up some of the comments later, but I don't know. That's just me. And on top of that too, and I have all the respect for her too. Vicky Johnson is the next one that's not making any things any easier, in my personal opinion. But Vicky Johnson they're both, I think, they complement each other well as head coaches. That's just my personal opinion. Let's get to number 7, the Los Angeles Sparks. For me, I mean, really, 5 through 6 are interchangeable, honestly and truthfully. Really quick. Atlanta plays Phoenix tomorrow, which is Tuesday. Minnesota Friday. Yes. But back to Los Angeles. They were 2-1 this week. They're now 6 in a row. They won 6 in a row before they lost to Connecticut on Sunday. They play Chicago on Tuesday because if they beat them, they eliminate Chicago from the playoffs. And they have 3 home games. One of them I know the Mystics play, and 3 home
Seattle
games on the
plays
road.
them too.
Yes.
Seattle plays
Thank you.
them too. Yeah.
Thursday. So Chicago Tuesday, you guys Thursday, and us on Sunday. That should be interesting to see. I still think Los Angeles, I think they'll get the 8th, 7th seed, but they just got healthy at the right time. I mean, they've been dealing with injuries and illnesses a lot. I mean, Lexi Brown, we were all hoping would be back on the floor, decided to take, some time for her to get herself mentally, emotionally, spiritually healthy. So, and I respect that. So just continue well wishes for her. But this Sparks team is still looking good.
Yeah, besides Lexi Brown and Katie Lou, they're completely healthy, and they, like you said, yeah, they got healthy at just the right time. This is how you end a season. The way the Sparks are ending it right now is you started up the season kind of rough, and injuries and stuff didn't help. But now you've kind of hit your stride, and with a capable head coach in Kurt Miller, to lead this team when it comes to the playoffs, you're kind of getting in that in the mix of things here. They're at 7 right now. I could see them going up to. I could see them really, if I look at the standings here, I could really see them going up to as high as 5. They really could. It's crazy to.
It's achievable.
Yeah, it's achievable, but it's crazy to think about that, like when you say it. But looking at the standings, they're at the 8th spot right now. They're a half a game behind Atlanta. They'll pass Atlanta. They could pass Washington. Sorry. And then Minnesota's there at 17 and 18. It's possible. It's not improbable. Now, when Seattle had a chance, I had LA doing terrible and then being like the odd team out when putting Seattle in that 8th spot. But I mean, I'm rooting for LA right now. I think they could. I don't believe they're an 8th place team. I really don't. They're playing much better.
Oh no, I understand. I mean, like I said, 5 through 7 on this list is interchangeable. I mean, you could put them either way. I mean, both. I think all these teams right now are starting to peak. Because the next team here is Minnesota. Remember, they started the season off 0-6, and Nafisa Collier put this team on her back. Now they've reached 500 3 times. Ironically, they were 9-9, 13-13, and then 17-17. The only really, I'd say, disappointing about this season is regarding Aerial Powers. And I'm a fan of Aerial Powers. And I have a question for Shara Reeves. What's going on there? Because you paid her like a star, even though I was very, at the time after winning a championship with Washington, I'm all about players getting their money. And I understand when free agency, you're going to get overpaid by another team. But if we're being honest, what's this season? What's been going on? Because her tweet was very subliminal. That was a subliminal message. And if you notice, I think she's actually started to play more than really last few couple weeks. But yeah, I mean, other than getting embarrassed by that team in New York, I mean, that would happen for the first winning record since I had them for the first time this year. They just have 2 more games at the Target Center. I'm thinking that they're going to be on the road because they're here, and I'm here in the nation's capital for tomorrow's game. I believe they go to Atlanta, and they play Phoenix. So, and those no, they're home, Atlanta and Phoenix. Atlanta, I can see beating them. Phoenix, Minnesota can beat. So, but it's interesting that they are a better road team than a home team.
Yeah, I spoke about that on. I was talking to another friend of mine about the home being better on the road than home. Seattle's the same way, and I feel like when we were talking about the playoff chances for the Storm, and if you make the playoffs, I think being a better road team than home could play to an advantage, because in both situations the environment changes. So the home games become more electric for your team, and the road games become more electric for the opposing team. But when you're better on the road, it kind of plays to an advantage to where the electricity in the arena is supposed to bother the road team. But if you're better on the road, it doesn't really bother you as much. So that could play to an advantage. But you got to be, I feel like you got to be a solid playoff team. And what I mean by that is like a team full of experienced vets, and you could see them making it a round or two. With Minnesota, I don't really see it. I mean, Naficia Collier could completely prove me wrong, and I would totally get that because, I mean, she's her. But that's, I mean, if right now you're looking at crazy, like how could they be better on the road than better at home? Like, you got to be better at home, right?
Yeah.
That's not the case for all teams. And when it comes to playoffs, that could play to your advantage.
Yeah, for sure. Last thing I'll close out before we get to the top five in this is that they played Dallas, and Satu Sabally was the target of some fans being heckled by fans, and we have to be better than that, ladies and gentlemen. Like these, we're athletes are humans too. You know, that was uncalled for, and Satu had every right to express what she felt. The word she used, I had to actually look at it. It means malice joy in German. So I just thought that was just completely ignorant. Shout out to the Minnesota Lynx for speaking up on that and coming to her defense and calling out the behavior. Because again, there's no place for bullshit like that. Excuse my language.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. We have to be better. And the last place I would expect that to be is in a WNBA game. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, we had a guy who fell asleep, who went to an actual WNBA game and thought it was funny to fall asleep. And little did he know, not only did he get banned from going to WNBA games, but also NBA games. So,
yeah,
jokes on him. So, before we get to the top five, let's get into the sponsor of Big Nate Sports Talk podcast, and that is Zagnif Apparel. Ladies and gentlemen, do you want to dress like you're already famous? You can and you will with Zagnif Apparel.
The following is a presentation of Zagnif Productions, LLC. Introducing Zagnif Apparel. Our comfortable line of leisure wear and athletic wear will have you comfortable and stylish at any occasion. Whether you're at the gym, out shopping, or just relaxing at home. Whether you're an athlete or just want to lay around the house, we've got the perfect outfit for you. Stop by our website today and pick up your favorite pieces. Dress like you're already famous.
And you most certainly will, and you can dress like you're already famous with a nice 15% off using my discount code Big Nate for 15% of your final purchase. Ladies and gentlemen, please check out Zagnif Apparel. You can and will dress like you're already famous. Let's get to the top 5. And in the top 5, and I want to give this team an opportunity, a special thank you once again for allowing me to cover them. I was at the Serengeti, aka the ESA, on this past Saturday as we defeated those Las Vegas Aces. And she was back. EDD, who gave me a nice, who I felt like was just a shot in the arm. We need a nice 21 points. The Mystics needed this win. It has been a very, very rough season with the injuries. Now, okay. I feel like Coach T, Eric T, has not gotten. I think he's getting a little too much flack because when you look at this team, it still has Mike Tebow's fingerprints written all over it. So let's give him some grace. I think he's doing a good job. I think he's shown he's capable of being a good coach in this league. He's been without his top three starters: Errol Atkins, Shakira Austin, Deladon. My concern is we have Minnesota tomorrow, which is Tuesday. We go to Vegas Thursday, and then we go out to Los Angeles Sunday. So, we just gotta play, especially with our 4 of our last 6 games on the road, and yeah, man, that's just what I feel. And I will be covering their last home game on September 8th as they play the Atlanta Dream at the Serengeti. The ESA, excuse me. Sorry.
So that's awesome that you beat the Aces, and I hope you know the reason why you beat the Aces is because you were there. So that's number one. I saw a tweet. I can't remember how long ago it was. It was I think the day that EDD came back, or it could have been the day after. That kind of raised a question for me that I wanted to ask you. She's been through injuries galore the last 2 years, whether it was her back or something else.
Okay.
And she's getting up there in age. So, and she's free agent next year. Do you think she could call it a career after the season? Because I just think my answer would be no.
No,
I
think that's too early to call.
I can see it. Yeah.
I mean, if we're being honest, I'm gonna hold off on that because there's a lot of questions I have for the Mystics going after this year.
Yeah.
And EDD is not the top person on that list. It's a lot of other issues I have with really how this team looked this year. But to respond to your question, no. Again, she had an ankle injury, and before the ankle injury, she was playing just fine. I think we're reading a little too much into. I think a lot of this is based on the back surgery she got, 2021, and all that. I think that's really where it's all stems from. But no, to answer your question, number 4. The Dallas Wings, and I also covered them when the Mystics, when we got our butt whipped by this team painfully. Dallas plays Indy Friday. That's just not right. And then you have Indiana back home. Satu Saab had the ankle injury. Minnesota. She didn't play yesterday or Thursday. I was hoping she'd be probable to play yesterday, but they're probably just resting her. more than anything. So,
They better be, because she's an important piece to their playoff run.
yeah, and they're actually 2 games ahead of Minnesota for that 4th seed, which was interesting. I was like, did I see that right? Minnesota is 2 games from being a 4th seed.
Yeah, this 4 through 7 is really jumbled up, man. It's crazy. My thing on Dallas, and I always thought the last 2 or 3 weeks they could be a team that beats Vegas or New York, and they
Mm-hmm.
could be a team that loses to Indiana or Seattle. Like
Yeah,
they're really their ceiling is very high and their floor is very low.
yeah,
Um, you said they play Indiana twice in a row um, to open up the month. My thing on them, they better not be playing with their food, man. At this point, especially if you wanna prove your legitimacy in this
gotta
top four
go out
and
there and
and
beat
to,
them.
yeah, and to secure a home court advantage. They secure a home court advantage in the first round. That's huge. That's huge for a team like them. And the Satu injury, I hope they're resting her, rather than it be a long term injury. Because man, that would be a big loss if they lost her in the or if they didn't have her in the playoffs. Because she has lived up to her unicorn nickname. She is special. Um,
Absolutely.
she could be the comeback player of the year. Um, but I think it'll go to Jordan Canada out of Los Angeles. And that would be awesome
For
to see
sure.
a former Storm player win it. Um, but no, Dallas better not be playing with their food this last stretch of games, because they have a very, because of that low floor,
Yeah, yeah,
and
for
with
sure.
these
I agree.
with these jumbled up standings too.
Yep, definitely. Let's get to number 3, the Connecticut Sun. Alyssa Thomas is my top 3 MVP candidates of MVP. They beat us that last Tuesday painfully um, in Los Angeles, and it was should have won the game against New York, and they would have gone to number 2, but that's okay. Um, Alyssa Thomas has 25 double doubles. That's by any other player in the league this season. Um, any player in a single season. Just speaks on what she's doing for this team. Um, Again, this is a team that doesn't have Bree Jones and really does lack shooting at times, other than Dewana Bonner. And my only concern is come playoff time, I need others to step it up. And I mean, Olivia Nelson, no doubt, has been playing well. Dejanay Carrick has been playing well. Ironically, who was also in a boot, just like Bree Jones is also currently in a boot. So I thought that was
Gabby,
interesting.
Gabby
Um,
Williams is also in a boot for Seattle. It's so heartbreaking to see. Um, Could you see the Connecticut? I know it's a new coaching staff, but it's a relatively same team. Could you see the Connecticut playoff curse come back this year with them?
no,
No. Okay.
because I think last year they got to the finals. I predicted them
Yeah.
to get to
Last
the
year
finals the year before, and um,
they just
I
have a
just
reputation not to win in the playoffs.
I I think some of it's coaching. You need a coach that's going to get you over the hump, and it's going to be interesting to see how Steph White does in the playoffs. That's
Yeah,
just
I
my
think she
personal
can get it
opinion.
done. I think she can
So
get it done.
yeah,
Um, I've been skeptical about Kurt Miller, and last year he proved me wrong. But I have full confidence in Stephanie White. Um, you said Alyssa Thomas, and I wanna put this in perspective. She's 25. You said 25 double doubles.
yes,
They have not. There's a four this game this time, uh, or this year. There for the first time ever. It's a 40 game. It's a 40 game season.
mm-hmm.
They have not played 40 games yet.
Nope,
And she will finish. Alyssa Thomas will finish with over 50% of her games,
with a double double.
50% in the games that she played in, with a double double. Even I think triple double, right?
Yes.
Doesn't she have, yeah, over 50% of her season will be with a triple double. When you hear those words, that's just unthinkable
Yeah.
to hear, and yet she's done it.
hmm Yeah, for sure. I mean, again, I think she should be an MVP conversation. Everybody wants it to be Brianna Stewart or A'ja Wilson, but Alyssa Thomas, you got to give her. I got to give her some love in there.
Oh yeah, you have to.
We're going to do 2-1. That team in New York, even though they beat Las Vegas tonight. I still I want to see what it looks like come playoff time. They have Connecticut Friday. I know Connecticut is off for blood with them, and so is Chicago. Um, again, I just want to make this point: they are not a consistent team for 40 minutes. It took them overtime to beat Connecticut. They were down 20 points. I mean, you beat a Minnesota team, sure. You have Brandon Stewart, who had 38 points in that game. That's her sixth game where she has 30 more points. She didn't play in the fourth quarter. Fine. I'll give you that. But the biggest thing we've been saying about New York is maintaining consistency. And they've not shown that. They're not a consistent basketball team. Yeah, that's great. Brandon Stewart's putting up these numbers, but you're doing it when your team is behind at times. And that's just my observations. And that's just not going to win you games come playoff time.
Yeah, my thing for the Liberty, I mean, with consistency, it's more on Sabrina, but I'll tell you what, man, New York fans are gonna love playoff Stewie because she just turns it up a level when it comes to the playoffs. She just go the way that she's going right now. You don't even know the level that she'll turn it up when it comes to the playoffs. So New York fans are gonna love playoff Stewie. Um, yeah, can the others around her step it up? Not, it doesn't have to be in the same way, but can they step it up as well? That playoff Stewie is going to, because once that clock hits midnight on the playoffs or on the regular season, and come playoff time, she's gonna turn it up to a whole new level that we've never seen.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you on that one. And lastly, number one, the team I feel like has played the most games since post All Star break, and that's Las Vegas. A'ja Wilson made history. She tied with the most points in the WNBA game against Atlanta with 53. Should have been 54. Don't know what that was all about. So they lost tonight, unfortunately, to New York. They're back home against Washington. They're back home against Seattle. Painfully, they gave up well over, I think, 100 points to Atlanta, 87 to Chicago, and they won those games. And then Saturday lost. Again, they're winded. You could just tell they're tired. They've played the most games since post All-Star break, and that's fair to say. They need a break. They're tired, and that's where again, Coach Hammond. This is where I need you to start utilizing your role players a little bit more. So those are just my 2 cents on it. Las Vegas will be fine.
Yeah, they'll be fine. I think the wind's getting knocked out of Vegas. And you can see that. My thing that I'm looking at come playoff time is what is Alicia Clark's role going to be in this, because she's kind of been the magnifying glass has kind of gotten bigger with her. Ever since Candace Parker got hurt, and then on that same subject too, are we going to have games in the playoffs with the Aces where we're going to say, man, they miss Candace Parker right now? Because I think there have been games, a couple of games this year, where you look at it on the Aces perspective and you're like, man, they miss Candace Parker. So those would be my concerns with the Aces. They're going to be fine. Like you said, they just need a break. So they'll get a couple of days off before the playoffs. But I mean, the schedule's kind of similar to the slugfest that they've been dealing with come playoff.
And we're not even, and the way the 40 games have been this season, it's been abysmal. So
yeah. So it's definitely taking a toll on the players, especially in Vegas. So it'll be interesting to see how they treat the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. We've run out of time. There is a topic we're going to bring up in the next week episode. Just real quick, there was a survey that was out. We'll talk about the next episode. But that's going to conclude for this episode, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in. Brenden, appreciate you as always. We'll see you next week. Ladies and gentlemen, please like, comment, subscribe for all future content. Much obliged. Again, have a good night. Have a good week. I'll catch you guys on the flip side.
It's Friday night and I hit up the crew. Grab the keys, jump in my ride, cruise the town and can find something new. Hit the club, the DJ's got the dance floor in a groove, and none of that compares to when I turn around and saw you. I can't understand it, girl. How you do the things I'm watching you do. While we're in this club, hey, all I wanna do is dance with you. I wanna dance with you. The moment that I saw your face, I knew I wasn't leaving till I got a chance to know you. But I'm still nervous, trying not to lose my cool. So I'm stuck sitting watching you. I don't know what to do. Can't understand. Oh, yeah. How you do the thing I'm watching you do. While we're in this love, all I wanna do is dance with you.
Thank you for tuning in to Big Nate Sports Talk. If you enjoyed that episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share the next big thing, the next up-and-coming sports journalist, Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
I want to thank you, yeah. I want to thank you. Ooh. For all the times you put up with me. Thank you. And you helped me retain my sanity. Thank you. I want to thank you. And I want to thank you. All I want to do is say thank you for everything.